Imagine, you spend months planning your dream wedding, deposits are paid, venue is booked, everything is ready, and suddenly, the government announces a nationwide lockdown.
Or imagine you are a contractor halfway through building a project worth millions, and overnight you are legally not allowed to continue working.
When situations like this happen, most people ask one question: what the contract happened?
Hi everyone, welcome to our discussion When Life Interrupts Plans. I'm Elena.
Hi, I'm Jolene.
I'm Yi.
Thanks for joining us. Let's be honest. All of us have made a plans before that suddenly fell apart. Maybe a wedding got cancelled, a renovation stopped halfway, or a holiday trip never happened.
Yes, and when that happens, most people don't immediately think about the legal side. But if you sign a contract, things can get complicated. Questions like, do I get my money back? Who is responsible for this? And is anyone at fault?
Yeah, exactly. So for this project, we interview people in the construction industry who actually experienced during the pandemic. Today we will share their story and explain what the law said in a simple way.
Let's start with Mr. Joseph. His company was handling two construction projects, a riverway project and a housing development. When MCO started, everything basically froze. For example, Mr. Joseph please.
They make performance physically impossible because you cannot have physical movement to the site, so no progress was to be expected after the MCO was issued.
What stood out to me was when he said performance became physically impossible. That's really important legally. It wasn't about refusing to work, but they literally couldn't enter the site.
So what did they do next?
Luckily, their contract had a force majeure clause. They immediately sent a formal notice to the employer. For example, Mr. Joseph show notice clips.
Next one would be the private contract. That one is spelled out very clearly. That include lockouts and that.
Oh,
So
the private one was under the terms and conditions.
yeah,
under
we
your
just
company.
drafted.
That step is actually very important. If your contract has a force majeure clause, you usually must notify the other party quickly. If you delay, you might lose protection under the clause.
In the end, both parties negotiate and agree to end the contract. The company still suffered some losses, but it prevents things from getting more worse.
The employer did subsequently do an assessment of how much they can pay. But they have already said upfront that they will be unable to pay every cent to the dollar. So we are expected to suffer some loss, and they are able to shoulder most of it. So if we accept those and the amount offered, we sign the mutual termination. So given that situation, we just opt for mutual termination. The loss was only 200 over 1,000, so not enough to commence the arbitration case against the government.
That sounds like compromise was the key. What about Surveyor Cheng?
His experience was quite different. He explained that during MCO, the government automatically extend deadline for contractors. Here is Mr. Surveyor Chen clips.
The government is helping the contractor in giving contractor extension of time. You no need apply. The government will just give you how many days of days as extension of time. You no need to write in to apply. Automatically give you extension of time. Yeah.
So from the both interview, we can already see something interesting. When unexpected disaster happen, it's just not about the law. It's about communication, contract planning, and sometimes government support too.
So we've mentioned two legal terms quite a few times: force majeure and frustration of contract. They sound scary, but they're actually quite easy to understand. Let me give you an example. Imagine you and your friends plan a hike for a mountain tomorrow. But tonight, the government announces that the mountain is closed and no one is allowed in. Nobody did anything wrong, but the plan just cannot happen anymore. In law, this situation is called frustration of contract.
So basically, something unexpected happened that made the contract impossible to carry out.
Exactly. And in Malaysia, this idea is written into the law under Section 57, Subclause 2 of the Contracts Act 1950. When a contract is frustrated, it usually means both parties are released from future obligations, although issues like deposits or payments may still need to be settled.
Then what made the difference from force majeure?
Good question. Force majeure is something the parties agree on in advance. It's like saying if a pandemic, flood, or government lockdown happens, here's what we will do. Frustration, on the other hand, is the legal backup when the contract does not clearly cover the situation.
So force majeure is like planning ahead. Frustration is when the law step in later.
Exactly. And this idea actually comes from an earlier court case. One famous English case is Taylor v. Caldwell. In that case, a music hall burned down before a concert could take place. The court decided the contract was automatically discharged because performance became impossible.
Oh, that sounds very similar to what business experienced during COVID.
Yes, and Malaysian courts follow similar reasoning. For example, in Yu Siu Hu v. Nikmat Maju Development, the court recognized that unexpected external events can discharge contractual obligations if they fundamentally change the nature of the performance.
So both English law and Malaysia law recognize frustration.
Yes, but the main difference is that English law was developed through court decisions, while Malaysia has the written principle directly into the statute of Section 57, Clause 2.
Yes, they actually made it easier for businesses and consumers to understand their own right.
So now that we understand how frustration of contract and force majeure work from a legal perspective, the next question is, why does this actually matter in real life?
Exactly. These legal rules don't just affect contracts on paper, they affect businesses, workers, and even how economies recover after major crises. So far, we've talked about real-life experiences and legal concepts, but let's take a step back for a moment. How does this connect to the bigger picture and relate to things like sustainable development and the future of businesses?
Actually, the connection is stronger than we expected. From our interview, when contracts are disrupted, we realize that it doesn't just affect company, it also affects worker, customer, and even the economy. Let's start with the first SDG. SDG 8 is about decent work and economic growth. When contracts are cancelled or projects stop, businesses lose money. This can lead to salary cut, job losses, or even a company closing down. For example, for our interview, Mr. Joseph mentioned that his company has to take the loss when the project ends.
So we are expected to suffer some loss, and they are able to shoulder most of it. So if we accept those and the amount offered, we sign the mutual termination. So given that situation, we just opt for mutual termination. The loss was only 200 over 1,000, so not enough to commence the arbitration case against the government.
This situation like this directly affect worker life.
And contract law actually plays a quite important role here. When the law allows fair solution like negotiation, partial refunds, or termination without penalties, it helps business survive instead of collapsing completely. This helps protect jobs and keeps economy activity moving.
Yeah, the next is the second SDG we choose is SDG 9. It's about industry, innovation in infrastructures. Construction and infrastructures projects are very important for national development. Road, housing project, and public facility all depends on contract running smoothly. When disaster or pandemic interrupt in this project, the development will slow down.
What's interesting is that many businesses have improved their contract terms after COVID. Some companies now include clearer force majeure clauses, better risk sharing arrangement, and more flexible scheduling options. So in a way, the pandemic forced industry to innovate and become more resilient.
That shows how law and business can evolve together. Stronger contract planning doesn't just protect companies, it supports long-term infrastructure development and economic stability.
The third SDG 16 is about peace, justice, and strong institutions, which promote justice, fairness, and strong legal institutions. The idea behind frustration is basically about fairness. If something happened that made it impossible for either party to fulfill the contract, and it's no one's fault, the law will step to make sure no one is unfairly punished. At the same time, court play an important role in interpreting contract and keeping things predictable. When business trust that the legal system is fair and reliable, they feel more confident signing the contract and investing in long-term projects.
From a legal perspective, this shows that contract law must continue adapting to modern challenges. For example, if contracts clearly address climate-related risks, businesses can respond faster and recover more effectively after these disasters.
Yeah, exactly. For our interview, we noted that many successful resolutions happen when both parties were willing to negotiate instead of immediately blaming each other or going to court. That kind of cooperation actually supports long-term sustainability in business relationships.
So when we think about it, a well-drafted contract is more than just a legal document. It becomes a safety system that helps business, workers, and consumers stay stable during crisis.
So overall, frustration of contract and force majeure clauses show that contract law is not just about rules, it's also about balancing fairness, supporting businesses, and helping society recover from unexpected challenges.
So after understanding the legal principle and their wider impact, we thought it would be helpful to end with some practical advice that anyone can use.
So, for business owners, number 1, always include a clear force majeure clause. Be specific, mention pandemics, lockdowns, floods, or government orders. Number 2, if disaster happens, notify the other party immediately and in writing. Number 3, consider backup protection plan like business interruption insurance.
For consumer, if you sign contract like wedding, renovation, or travel booking, number 1, spend a few minutes reading cancellation and refund clauses. Number 2, ask what happens if event like pandemic or disaster occurs. Number 3, keep all communication record that can become important evidence.
We also think standard contract templates and clearer crisis guidelines can really help vulnerable industries. After hearing from Mr. Joseph and Shervinier Chien, one thing became very clear to us.
Law make the rule, but real solutions usually come from good communication, cooperation, and finding where they are benefit for everyone.
So, a contract shouldn't be a weapon for lawsuits. It should be something that protects both sides when unexpected problems happen. Hopefully, this discussion will help you see that contracts are different, not as scary legal documents, but as tools that help people plan and protect their future. Thank you for listening.